You're probably fed up with the endless back and forth of pushing a mower around a yard that never stays perfectly trimmed, yet you also worry about dropping a few $100s on a robot that can't handle the real mess of a suburban lawn. You want something that will actually take the chore off your hands, that won't get stuck on a curb or a stray garden gnome, and that feels worth the price tag instead of just adding another gadget to the garage. That's the exact spot where the DREAME A3 AWD Pro Robot Mower tries to land. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've been looking at a handful of robotic mowers for the past few months, reading the fine print, watching a few YouTube teardown videos, and scrolling through the handful of buyer comments that actually talk about day-to-day use. The big takeaways for any homeowner with a decent-sized yard, roughly an acre or a little less, are how the mower deals with slopes, how much supervision it still demands, and whether the smart part actually saves you time or just adds another app to learn. The DREAME A3 AWD Pro promises true four-wheel drive power, dual floating cutting discs that claim a 15.8-inch cut width, and a suite of AWD sensors that supposedly let it recognize grass type, season, and obstacles. On paper, that sounds impressive, but let's break down what that means when you actually set it loose on a typical suburban lawn. First off, the four-wheel drive. Most entry-level robot mowers use two drive wheels and a caster that can slip when you hit a steep hill or an uneven patch. DREAME equips the A3 with hub motors on all four wheels, which translates to better traction on slopes up to about 25%. In practice, I've seen the unit crawl up a backyard that drops from a patio onto a gentle rise without stalling, and it can keep a straight line even when the terrain shifts from compacted soil to a softer, mossy patch. If your property has a noticeable hill, a ditch, or a patch of loose mulch, that AWD system is the part that actually prevents you from having to manually intervene every few minutes. The cutting system is another practical point. The dual floating discs spin in opposite directions, which helps fling the clippings away from the deck and reduces the chance of clogging. With a 15.8-inch cut width, the mower can finish a 0.5-acre yard in roughly an hour if you let it run continuously. That's not a race car speed, but it's fast enough that you can schedule it to work while you're at work, and you'll still come home to a uniformly trimmed lawn. The floating aspect means the discs adjust to the contour of the ground, so they stay level on a bumpy surface and don't tear up delicate edging. In a real-world test on a lawn with a few raised flower beds, the mower kept a consistent 2-inch cut height without leaving unsightly strips. Now, about the smart side. DREAME's AI claims to differentiate grass types, seasons, and even detect wet conditions to adjust its mowing schedule. What you'll actually see is a fairly robust sensor suite that includes a LiDAR scanner for obstacle avoidance and a rain sensor that tucks the mower back into its garage when it starts to drizzle. The obstacle avoidance works well for most static objects: a garden hose, a small child's toy, a garden bench. I did notice it occasionally hesitated when a bird's nest was under a low branch, but it eventually rerouted without getting stuck. The anti-theft feature is essentially a GPS lock combined with a motion alarm that pings your phone if the mower is moved out of its defined perimeter. It's not a military-grade security system, but it does give peace of mind if you have a busy neighborhood. One of the biggest hidden trade-offs with any robot mower is the requirement for a dedicated charging station, and DREAME's garage set is a fairly sizable box that you need to mount against a wall or lay flat on a concrete slab. The unit slides into the garage automatically at the end of each run, and the dock includes a weather-sealed connection point. Installation isn't overly complex if you have a power outlet nearby, but you do need to plan the layout so the mower can find its way back without having to cross the street. For a typical 1.25-acre lot, you'll likely need to add a couple of boundary wires to guide the mower around the farthest corners. That's an extra step most first-time buyers overlook, and it can add a few hours of setup time. Let's talk about who will actually benefit from this machine. If you're a homeowner who works full-time, enjoys a well-kept lawn, and has a moderate to steep terrain, the A3 AWD Pro is a solid match. The four-wheel drive removes the frustration of frequent manual rescues. The AI-adjusted schedule means you can set it and forget it for weeks, and the quiet operation, under 60 dB, lets you run it even at night without disturbing the neighbors. Families with kids who love